2 seconds. I'll do it again. That was the difference between me hitting target and not. So if you've watched the video by now, you'll know that I finished in 3:21:01, and I really wanted to be a 3:20 marathoner, but it wasn't quite to be. I got in 3:21:01, and on the day, I don't think I could have done any more, but I mean, it's pointless thinking back now, isn't it, like that? It's pointless thinking like that, because it is what it is. Whatever happened, happened, and I can't change that. So hindsight is wonderful, but also very, very pointless. Yes, there are things that I wish I'd have done now, but in the moment, I thought I was doing the right thing, which included a steady start, which I'll get into, and holding back slightly for my final kick. Maybe on a different day, I would be a 3:20 marathoner, or even quicker, or maybe even slower. Like I said, what happened, happened. Can't change the result. Pointless crying about it. So let's get into it. So as you probably well know, on the 1st of December 2024, I ran the Valencia Marathon, and I'd been training quite well for 16 weeks leading up to it. I'd had a pretty decent, block. Probably the best, definitely the best I've ever felt, really. It went really well. The whole thing went well. I introduced 2 new things, really, that I think made the difference on race day. Hills and track. 2 things I've never really gotten stuck into, especially on a weekly basis. Definitely not track anyway. I'd never even started track till this summer. I've joined a running club now here in Worcester, the Black Pair Joggers. And every week there's a track session. And that's, to be honest, the main reason I've joined the club. And it's massively, massively helped. Just, I don't know how it's helped. Can't quite put my finger on how. I mean, I guess it's my VO2 max, really. But I just feel like that has really, really helped. But I think the real big thing over the 16 weeks has been the hills. Taking them easy, running my easy runs, but running my easy runs up hills, because I'm forcing myself to run to pace, but work slightly harder. And over time, those hills become easier. And it's fascinating, really, how over 4 months, hills that I was dodging, let's be honest, towards the end of the block, I was, able to run 10k pace, 5k pace even, around some of those hills. So yeah, the race went well, and I'm not going to go too much into the specifics of before it and after it, but I'll just give you a quick overview. Before the race, on the Saturday, I did a shakeout. It is so humid today, so beyond humid. It's quite uncomfortable, actually. I actually wish I hadn't brought this coat now. It's really quite. I didn't do any of the official shakeouts. I just did a nice solo one on my own at 7 a.m. And I straight away, having flown in the night before, had a massive culture shock with the weather. I took a jacket with me, and I couldn't believe how humid it was by 8 o'clock in the morning. And the shakeout went terribly. I thought my marathon's completely ruined and over, because I just was not prepared for the heat. So I did the best thing I knew how to do the rest of that Saturday, just hydrate. Took on some electrolytes that I brought with me, in tablet form, popped them in my drinks, and just rested as much as I could. I didn't want to be on my feet too much, and just took it easy to give myself the best chance of doing well on the Sunday. On the Sunday, I woke up and it was probably around about 13 degrees by about 6:30, 7 a.m. On the start line, it was probably, I think it was 15. And by the finish line, when I finished at midday, just after midday, it got up to 23. Some people that are on the course longer than me noticed that the boards were saying 23, 24, maybe even 25 degrees. So even though it's December, in Spain, it's just a different kettle of fish over there. It's a different gravy. So you need to be prepared going into Valencia that it's going to be warm, especially if you're coming from a country like the UK, where at the point of doing the marathon, temperatures back home were about 4, 5 degrees, 6 degrees. So the back end of my training block was getting a lot cooler, and then bang, we hit the warmer temperatures. But the same thing can happen when you're training for London. You know, you can have a really cool winter and spring. Race day could be 23, 25 degrees. So it doesn't really matter. And it's not an excuse. It's just something to be aware of and something to try and manage. So I'm going to go through my splits and the race from my Garmin, first of all, because that was my guide on the day. We'll go through the official splits afterwards, and I'll show you the discrepancies. Now, I ran in total, according to my watch, 52.59 kilometers, so 400 meters more. And I also didn't start my watch till 5 seconds until it crossed the line, because I actually didn't realize that we'd actually crossed the line, because I was waiting for a British style arch to go under that had the big word start above it, but it didn't. And there was no countdown, so I was like, oh, we've started. And I was looking at the lads I was running with, Gareth and Edwin, and they were like, yeah, it started. That was the mat. What are you doing? Start your watch. So started my watch a little bit late, so everything wasn't quite right. But the first 5K for me wasn't as bad as some people's experiences. Up the front, a lot further up the front, further than me, people had some pretty bad experiences, including trips and falls where they'd been caught from the person in front of them behind them. If you watch Will Foo's video, The Woo, he describes what he thought was a really quite like a major emergency at one point, where the whole field stopped and everyone ground to a halt, including walking, and some people even dodged the course and jumped over fences to get away from what felt like it could have been a crush. So the further forward you are at Valencia, I imagine you're more at risk of maybe having a more difficult start, because obviously it's a fast race, fast runners. Where I wasn't too bad, or certainly in my eye line, I didn't encounter any problems. A couple of problems really on the first 5K, where I had to jump onto a cycle lane because I did feel like it was getting condensed. But then I just jumped straight back onto the course and it was fine. So I told myself that I wanted to take the first 10K easy, especially because I knew it was going to be quite a warm race. So that's exactly what I did. I knew that I needed to do a sub 320 marathon. I needed to be hitting splits of 23:20, 5K splits, with an average pace of 4:44. But as we all know, you're going to do a lot of weaving. Obviously, in the first 10K, I wasn't following the blue line. I was off running on a cycle path. I was running to blooming Alicante at one point. And I will have just, every corner I took wide or too narrow, or every time I didn't follow the blue line, maybe not too narrow, but every time I took it too wide, I'm adding meters, and they all add up. They really do. And I remember getting to the halfway point, and that was pretty much consistent. So I remember getting to the halfway point and my GPS was already about nearly 200 meters off. By the end, it was nearly 400 meters off. So it is quite consistent, which makes me think that most of the weaving I did might have been in the first half. But the first 5K, I took easy. Now, my split for the first 5K, again, didn't start my watch 5 seconds in, said 24:15. So let's just say 24:20 was my first 5K split. I wanted 23:20, so it was a minute slower over that first 5K, with an opening K of 4:54, 4:47, 4:46, and 4:48, and 4:59. So apologies, I'm going to talk in kilometres, not miles. That is approximately nearly an 8 minute, just shy, maybe just before an 8 minute mile. Bearing in mind, I needed to average across the whole marathon 7:38, 7:35, I think 7:35. The next 5K, to get me up to 10K, I did speed up, but I sped up maybe a bit too late, and this could have cost me in the end. Maybe it saved me. That's the thing, I'll never know. I keep saying, I wish I'd gone a bit harder on that first 5 to 10K, but maybe that was the thing that made me be able to finish strong. I don't know. But all I know is I didn't get up to marathon pace until kilometre 7, because kilometres 5 and 6 were nearly 5-minute Ks, 4:58 and 4:59. And then I got back up to marathon pace until 10K, 4:45, 4:44, 4:40 and 4:39. So by 10K, I'm rock and rolling. I'm where I needed to be. Now, I said to myself, yes, we need to run 4:44 if I was a robot running that blue line, but I wouldn't. So I knew I needed to run slightly faster. So my aim was 4:40s and 4:41s, which proved to be quite tough. But what I also said to myself was, lock into marathon pace from 10K until 37, then the last 5K, see if we can roll into the 4:30s and maybe even kick a little bit harder towards the very finish. So that's what I would, in a perfect world, that's what I wanted to do. Do we live in a perfect world? Absolutely not, especially during a marathon. So the next 5K split was my 23:40 was, no, it wasn't my fastest all day. My fastest 5K split was between 15 and 20 until nearly the halfway point, which was a GPS again, so it could be wrong. Well, it is wrong. 23:10. So my watch at this point is all I've got as a guide, and I know I've got to be, the 5K splits that I'm doing are probably more like 4.7s or 4.8s, but I didn't realise that at the time. So I needed to be running faster than the faster speed I knew I needed to be running faster than, if that makes sense. Because even the tweaks that I'd made to my average pace, required pace, I still don't think were fast enough. So then we got to halfway. Now, halfway split officially, off the top of my head, was 1:40:57. My Garmin, obviously being 5 seconds late, told me 1:40:53. This is the point I knew I was 200 metres over. By then, I was looking at my watch and it was telling me that I was about 4:45 per kilometre. Bear in mind, a 4:44 gets me the 3:20. So I knew I'm still over. I'm still running a bit slower. And I need to get that down to 4:42, 4:43. Maybe I'll get away with that. But definitely not 4:44, because I need to be faster than that. So I know I need to try and find nearly a minute, maybe even 90 seconds in my second half. So I need to step on it. I need to do a negative split, else there's no 3:20 happening today. The next split I cruised through from 20 to 25 was a very similar split on my watch, again 23:18, including my fastest K of the whole day, which was 4:33 a kilometre, which is probably 7 seconds too quick. But I probably just went through a tunnel of support, and I probably just got a bit carried away. And then I went the next K from 25 to 30. I did that in 23:35. So staying fairly even, Stephen, not racing off, even though I knew I needed to do the negative split. But arguably, I'm not touching that 23:20. So slightly disappointed in myself that I couldn't do that, because my Ks here are, 4:42, 4:40, 4:47, 4:44, 4:40. So they're not wildly, they're not wildly separate from the K before it. There's still, 5-7 seconds difference, but those seconds make up such a big chunk of time overall when you add them all up across the marathon. So if you can be a running robot, if you can be a metronome and keep those splits within 2 and 3 seconds of each other, you're going to stand a way better chance. But this is all best case scenario stuff. Not many people can ever do that. That is an amazing skill, to run at the same speed through a marathon. That is a very impressive thing to be able to do. I still have nowhere near mastered it. I probably will never. Then getting to lap 30 or kilometre 30, this is where it really started to hit me, between 30 and 40. Bear in mind, I just run my 4th ever fastest half marathon ever at 1:40:57, and now I knew I needed to run faster than that half marathon to finish. So I wouldn't say I'm starting to blow up, but I'm starting to feel really quite tired. And by this time, by the way, I've had 5 gels. I took with me 8 or equivalent to gels, which are my chews. 2 of them were caffeine chews and 6 of them were non-caffeine. The brand I use are called Voom. They contain, I wish I could remember the amount of grams of carbs. It's not a hell of a lot, but it's enough for me, especially from what I've been training on. And they also contain some electrolytes, which I think helped me, because I didn't get cramp the whole day. I didn't get cramp in Newport. So yeah, I think they do work for me. 30 to 35, my 5K split, 23-24. So not bad, not bonking yet. And this is where at Newport, everything started to go south from K36 onwards. And I remembered that, so I picked it up. I did a 4:42 at lap 36, which is bang on pace, which is where I should be. And then I did a 4:49 straight after it, so getting quite tired now. 37, 4:48. Now, if you've watched the video, this is where I took on my caffeine chew, and I started to feel, like the game might be up. But that caffeine chew seemed to kick in, because at 39, I ran a 4:41, 40, I ran a 4:42, and then 43 and 44, I ran a 4:48 and a 4:41. So yeah, 40 was slightly slow, 41, I picked it back up again. That 5K split, 23:45, so slightly slow. It's only 4 seconds quicker than my 5 to 10K split. So the slowest out of all the Ks, out of all the splits apart from the earlier ones. And then I got to, when you get to 41, you start to see a countdown of meters to go. So you see 900, 800, 700, 600. And I thought that would mentally destroy me, but it absolutely motivated me to just try and give everything I had. And I did. So I just did exactly that. From 800 to 400 to go, I picked up the pace. Pointless looking at your watch by now. You've just got to go for it because you know it's nearly over. Obviously, you know what you've got over a kilometre or 800 metres, so you know not to sprint yet. Well, maybe you do. Maybe you can sprint for 800 metres. Majority of us can't. But I'd said to myself, when I see and feel the blue carpet, the famous blue carpet under my feet, that's my cue to pick it up another gear and just go into top gear and just try and sail, gallop over the finish line and just go as quick as I could and take as many souls as I could on the way. And I don't think, maybe one or two, I don't think I got overtaken in that last kilometre. I think I got overtaken maybe twice. So I must have overtaken, I reckon, about, well, maybe I should try and count this in my video. As a guess, about 30 people, maybe more like 50, I don't know. But I really did give it everything I had. Got onto the 400 metres to go, which is the blue carpet, and you got this lovely downhill. Bearing in mind, Newport I thought was flat when I did that marathon in April. This was even flatter. There was no road bridges to go over, nothing. There was a little incline in the city centre at 30k. But apart from that, literally nothing. Maybe I've been spending too much time running on hills and I don't notice the flat anymore, or the little hills. But I didn't notice one single hill. I don't think there were any. Like I said, maybe a 2 or 3 metre incline in the city centre, but that was it. But I went down this hill, and then the blue carpet disappeared for a bit. We're back on cobbles, and then you get back on the blue carpet for the last 200, and I just remember just going, give it everything you've got, just go, go, go. And that's exactly what I did, and I didn't regret it at all. I crossed that line. I didn't even know what I'd run, but the feeling of crossing that line, knowing that you've got nothing left to give, having felt quite strong, was like nothing I've ever felt before. It was an amazing feeling. And when I finally realised I'd done 3:21:01, I just felt immediately so pleased with myself, because I knew that was a 15 and a half minute PB. Yes, I'd missed out by a minute or a couple of seconds really if I wanted the 3:20. But it was just an immense feeling, really was. And I was feeling really proud. And then once I'd gone through got my medal and got all my freebies, then I started to think, if only I'd gone a bit faster. If only I hadn't taken the inside line. That's what I meant by taking the inside lines on that hairpin turn. Maybe that was 2 seconds. But again, hindsight is wonderful, isn't it? And it just gives me fire for the next one. And I can't wait to run a marathon again, because crossing a line feeling good, crossing a line feeling bad puts you off marathons, and you think, no, never ever, don't want to ever put myself through that again. But crossing a line feeling good makes you feel the opposite, because I've had both feelings now. And usually I cross a finish line feeling awful, but I crossed that line and I just couldn't wait to go again. And when I was walking home, seeing all the marathoners come in, it just got me really, really inspired and motivated. And I spent, no joke, an hour. I was literally crossing the road and I started clapping and saying vamos to people. And I just couldn't stop clapping people over the line, or the last ford at 800 metres. And I thought about the amount of motivation that people have given me, and inspiration, and their well wishes. The least I could do is stand and clap people over the line, which is what I did. So I probably stood there for about an hour. Then I went home. My accommodation was above a chicken restaurant, so I went and got some chicken and chips, and then went back out again. Went to the pub, had a few beers. That was really good fun. Celebrated in town, which was nice. And then, yeah, that was the end of my marathon weekend after getting up on Sunday morning, doing a bit of touristy stuff, walking around Valencia before getting my flight home. So, yeah, absolutely just buzzing with that. And now, while I'm looking at my splits again, I want to show you the difference between Garmin or your watch splits and your actual splits. And what I mean by actual splits are when you cross timing mats. That is exactly 5 kilometers. Your watch is not 5 kilometers. And it's taken me a while to accept that, because I used to think, the course was a bit long, wasn't it? I think I might have to write a written complaint to the Valencia Marathon. But they do this every year. There's no way it can be long. It's every single year for however many years the race has been on. It's the same course, so it cannot be long. I just chose to run it long, basically. So, first split, 24:29. My watch said 24:15. Second split, 24:01. My watch said 23:49. You can see a pattern emerging. 23:48 actual. My watch says 23:40. So I'm losing 10 seconds every time. And these 10 seconds are just building and building and building. 23:27 for the for what I thought was my fastest K. 23:10. So I obviously lost some meters there. And then 23:43 going through the half of 20 to 25. 23:18. 23:44 for 25 to 30. 23:35 Garmin time. 23:43 actual for the next split. 23:24. 35 to 40. 23:57 official. And I thought I did a 23:45. So you can see where I'm losing seconds all the time. And you think you pace. I mean, your watch is all you've got, really, unless you're following a pacer. And all a pacer has got is his watch. So you're trying so next time you're in a race and you think, pacer's gone off a bit hot, hasn't he? Just remember, the pacer knows he or she needs to run faster, because otherwise you'll all be coming at, you're following the 3-hour pacer and you're running exactly 4:16s or 6:50s. You're going to come in at a big city marathon at 3:03 or 3:02. So that's why he's running 3:40s or 3:45s or 4:10s or 4:08s, because they know they have to run faster than desired time. Otherwise, it's all going to end in tears. So think next time you challenge your pacer on a course that they're going out too hot, they're doing it for a reason. And my watch actually said that I got round in 3:20:57 because I started it late, and it obviously was 4 seconds out. 3:21:01 was my official time, like I said, with 42.6 so 400 metres over. And it says I got round in an average pace of 4:43 per kilometre, which, remember, would have got me under 3:20 for the marathon. But it didn't, got me a 3:21. So you need to just chop, I think, depending on what time you're going for. But for me, I needed to chop off 4 or 5 seconds for my average pace. If my average pace would have read 4:41 or 4:40, then I would have done a 3:20 or a sub 3:20. But I didn't. I didn't run fast enough. But there you go. That's the recap of the Valencia Marathon. What a race. That blue carpet, that finish line, like nothing I've ever seen at a race. Phenomenal. Running into the City of Arts and Sciences buildings was like running into the future. The architecture in Valencia was amazing. They've got this lovely fusion between modern and traditional stuff. Like they've got some really old buildings, and then they've got these really futuristic buildings. No like 1960s architecture like we do. It's just a really inspiring place to run around. The support was massive. Even I felt massively supported. Please make yourself known to me. There were 2 people, a couple, I think, who shouted me at 2 occasions in the city centre. They shouted, "It's on, Andy, come on." And I thought they were talking to someone else. And then they said, "It's on, it's on." So I thought, wow, these people are like literally telling me to come on. It was an amazing feeling. And feeling supported on that course was just amazing. It was an emotional one for so many reasons, mainly because of the tragedy that happened there just over 6 weeks ago now. Valencia is in a mess. It didn't look a mess in my video, but it is. There was, the worst the city centre was there was no metro or there was no tram lines running. I mean, that's the worst it got for the city centre. But in the surrounding towns and villages, they are in a serious mess, which reminds me, and I'm not trying to guilt trip you. This is nothing to do with, this is just purely me. If you want to feel like you've given something to the people of Valencia, there is an official way to donate on the Valencia Marathon, which is on the Valencia Marathon website. And I'll just link it in the description. And they've collected over €100,000 in 6 weeks, which is pretty amazing. So if you'd like to donate, I've given a little bit. I've given just €10. If you want to just give anything, it's something to people that have lost everything. Some of the communities have just been completely decimated. So yeah. But I don't know what to do with myself now. No more Valencia related videos. In fact, just to finish off this Valencia chapter, there is one more video coming, which will be my next video, which is the weekend, my experience of the weekend. And that's going to be coming next. And then that's the end of the Valencia stuff. And yeah, I can't believe how quickly it all comes and goes. But it's been an amazing 4 months, really has. And a period of my life that I'm massively proud of, because I feel like I've taken my running up a level. And it's been a good period of running and a good period of my life. So I'm going to end it there. I'm going to drink the rest of my Guinness, and I will see you on the next video. What's next? I don't know. I'm going to do a video about what's next. I have actually got a couple of things booked in, and I have got some ambitious goals for 2025, which you might be able to probably speculate what they could be. But there are some goals that I do want to hit for next year, and I'm excited to get rock and rolling. But as for now, more R&R, more sitting by the fire, more chilling for now. And more basking in the glory of a big PB, because there ain't no feeling in running like a huge PB. So on that note, thank you so much for all your support. Thanks for watching. Take it easy wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you soon. Ta-da.
It's on, Andy!